it is Fleep and slam dunk.
Stolen by Bird and the cut to DJ. Yeah!
Buckle up for Kobe Bryant.
New era.
Oh! A jawbreaker! Curry way downtown. Bang!
It's all basketball.
A spectacular move by Michael Jordan.
Lace 'em up. It's time for 1010XL's Open Gym. Leading the break, here's RJ Saunders.
And it is the basketball show for the basketball fan on a Mother's Day edition of Open Gym. RJ Saunders here. Casey Dobson here. John O'Leary in the house with us. But most importantly, you are here, and however you're listening, wherever you're listening, we thank you. Also, to all the mothers listening, wherever you are, if you're already a mom, becoming a mom, happy Mother's Day to you. And for all those mothers who are no longer in the land of the living, we are proud of the person in which you raised who's listening to the show right now. We still acknowledge you on this very special day. Your way on to the show, the text line, 641-1010. Our question of the day, favorite basketball movie? We got a lot of them. Space Jam, Like Mike. Remember Eddie with Whoopi Goldberg? She's coaching the Knicks. Hoosiers, Fish That Saved Pittsburgh. Blue Chips with Shaq and Penny. That's how Penny got drafted, or at least traded to Orlando, because Shaq saw him play basketball in that movie, Blue Chips. So let us know, 641-1010, your favorite basketball movie. All right, so let's get into it. The NBA's most valuable player was named last week. Jokic wins his third MVP award. I think this is his third in the last 4 years. Shaq, however, an MVP winner himself in 2000, wasn't happy with the selection. In fact, he told Joker that he wasn't happy with it.
Joker, as the president of the Big Man Alliance, you are the president of the Big Man Alliance. You know I love you, the best player in the league. I want to congratulate you, but I want you to hear from me first. I thought the SGA should have been the MVP. That's no disrespect to you, but congratulations.
And, you know, it also didn't stop there. Gilbert Arenas talked about Jamal Murray is the guy Jokic relies on to hit clutch shots. He becomes that number one option, Murray does. So you're giving the MVP to a guy that when it counts, he's giving it to another guy, which I don't think is all the way true. Jokic does close games. Shaquille O'Neal was a guy, he could close games himself. However, he did have a couple guys, at least in his career, when he was at his peak. He had Penny. He had Kobe. He had Dwayne Wade. It didn't make Shaq any less of an MVP. He was one of the most dominant forces we've ever seen in the NBA, an absolute force of nature. It didn't take anything away from him that he had great guards to close games out for him. When it came to what I watched on the NBA on TNT, I'll agree with Barkley on this. I think you could have given it to 5 guys, and I don't know if I would have argued with any of them. So your finalists were SGA, Luka, and Jokic. If you would have added Jalen Brunson to that list and Anthony Edwards to that list, and one of those guys, not named Joker, would have won MVP, I could see your argument. Now, there may be those that would say you're only saying Jalen Brunson due to the fact that New York really hasn't been Jack Diddley-Poo in over a decade plus. Heck, they haven't been to the finals since 1999, and that was a strike-shortened year. And they came in as an 8 seed, eventually lost to the Spurs. But here's my question now, and you guys can play along with me, 641-1010. I don't know if the NBA's ever set a criteria for what you need to do to win most valuable player in the NBA. So what should it be? Shaq continues to say we don't know it, right? Should it go to the person who has the best stats? Who has the best record? What is it? And we've heard it now from everybody over the last few years. Let's go back to Shaq. And this is when he was talking with Tracy McGrady on his podcast.
when I was coming up, I always thought the MVP was the baddest mofo, shut your mouth
Man, let me tell you
in the
something.
game. No, but hold on, let me finish. Now it's, yeah, he's his best player, but his team. So now people focus on teams. I always thought it was, as a player, if you're the baddest guy in the league, you should be MVP. Now it's, his team is in first, his team is in fourth.
I don't like that.
Yeah.
I don't like that because that's not a real MVP to me.
Thank you.
You know what I'm saying? Because you own a championship team and you're the best player on a championship team, of course, right? But when you look at a guy that's, I'll say is putting up crazy numbers, doesn't really have the talent like some of these elite teams have.
Like Westbrook did that year.
Yeah, like Westbrook did that year, and he gets his team into the playoffs, whether it's a 7th or 8th seed, he doesn't have that type of talent around him. That's an MVP to me, because if you take him off of that, they don't make the playoffs, right? And
Right.
I had a year like that. My 2003 year, I mean, when I played for the Magic, of course, I'm not playing with no other All-Stars. I get guys that's never made an All-Star team, right? And I get my team, I think we got to the 6th seed, and I'm averaging 32 points, and I can't get that. You take me off of that team, we're a lottery pick. We're a lottery team, right?
Who won the MVP that year?
I think Tim Duncan got it that year.
Yeah.
Now, I understand the NBA since then, I think as early as last season, has now said you have to at least play 65 games to be eligible, which is crazy to me to think that you need to have a rule to have guys just become eligible for an end-of-the-year award. You have to tell them how many games they at least have to play, when that just used to be the status quo. Here comes the eye rolls, because I'm going to give you a little bit of a history stat, a saucy nug, as XL Primetime likes to use during the week. The last MVP to play all 82 games, you could probably say it with me in 3, 2, 1. Kobe Bryant, the last guy to do so. Now, to go to Tracy McGrady's point, in 2003, he did win the scoring title. Orlando finished 8th that year. San Antonio won 60 games, finished as the number 1 seed, and would eventually be the NBA champion, defeating the New Jersey Nets. We've heard other arguments. Remember Kendrick Perkins and JJ Redick going back and forth? And as an aside, I don't think race plays a factor, like Kendrick Perkins was trying to allude to when he had the argument with JJ Redick. But I looked at an article here, and it was interesting to me. So 2005, Steve Nash wins MVP, something that Shaq is still mad about to this day. Thinks he should have at least won one of the 2 that Nash won. It could have gone to a lot of guys that year. Nash wins MVP in 06. A lot of questions. LeBron James had a spectacular year that year. You could make the argument for him. Cleveland won 50 games that year. Kobe led the league in scoring. Dirk had the most win shares. He also did in 2007, which was one of the reasons he won MVP. The Mavs also won, I believe, 60-plus games that year. In that 2006 year, 67 games, you end up losing to Golden State. Chauncey Billups had a great year that year as well. He led the Pistons to 64 wins in 2006. So you had the arguments. Here's why Nash won it. According to the article in which I read, and according to what JJ Redick was saying on First Take that day, Nash bumps the Suns up 20 wins coming to Phoenix. And I think Mike D'Antoni had a lot to do with that, with the 7 seconds or less offense. He was also a part of the 40-60-90 club. We hadn't seen that in a minute. 40% from the field. 50% from the field, 40% from 3, 90 from the line. He also led the league in assists, free throws, true shooting percentage, and Phoenix averaged 108 points that year. Now, that's probably on the low end in today's NBA. But back then, it was almost unheard of. And at the rate they were moving, Barkley makes the argument that, was it Nash that made them great, or was it the system? Because he made a lot of guys in that system, Grant Hill, Sean Marion, Amari Stoudemire. He made those guys look really good. I think Steve Nash was a true MVP that year. If you're doing all that in 2006, you probably are the leader in the clubhouse. However, we can spend hours talking about this. Who should have been MVP this year? Who should have been MVP that year? There's people that say, I could make an argument Jordan could have won MVP every year in the 90s. Jordan, you heard him in The Last Dance, felt he should have won the MVP over Barkley and Malone. Ends up winning the championship and finals MVP, probably more important. Heck, even look at 06. Dwayne Wade was in the mix of winning MVP. I think he was 5th. He ends up winning the NBA Finals and NBA Finals MVP. Probably more important. But there are guys in the league, let's just say Shaq, Kobe. Maybe you could make an argument that LeBron should have more than what he has. Maybe. Kevin Durant, surprisingly, I think he only has one. Westbrook, the same, only one. And he averaged a triple-double that year. So to go back to McGrady's argument, just for a second, if he's saying that it should go to a guy to where you're saying if you take him off of his respective team, that team would be in the lottery. So I should have won MVP that year because I'm leading the league in scoring and really doing everything I can just to keep this team's head above water to take them to the playoffs. Fine. I understand that. Then why didn't the MVP go to Kobe in 2005, 2006? Shaq had just left. Now Kobe's on this mission of I'm going to prove that I could be the MVP of the league. His team wasn't that great. But if we're going to use that argument, Kobe should have probably more MVPs, and you could make that argument. Westbrook gets his MVP. I think the story was spectacular. Durant leaves. It's now Westbrook. It's his show. It's his team. He's probably not going to make the playoffs without KD. Gets OKC, I believe, to the 6th seed that year. Ends up losing in the first round, but Westbrook undoubtedly, and we hadn't seen somebody average a triple-double in over 40-plus seasons, so you could understand it. It was something we hadn't seen before. There's your exception to the rule. Now, I don't think it should go to a player that's averaging a triple-double every season. I don't. Westbrook was an anomaly with that. You're seeing a lot of guys now average close to triple-doubles. So a friend and I spoke about this. What should be the criteria? We're going 65 games. He said top 3. I'm going to go top 4 in your respective conference. Because from Shaq's criteria, the baddest mofo in the league, there were times where, yes, Shaq was the most dominant force in the league, but he wasn't the baddest mofo in the league. Listen, Jalen Rose gives it to him when he did that All the Smoke podcast where they said, what did you learn in that 2000 finals? And Jalen pauses for the longest time and says, Shaq's a monster. Now you go to 2003, the baddest mofo in the land was Tim Duncan. Without question. Shaq was still one of the most dominant forces in the league. Tim Duncan, my goodness, this man's giving you 35, 12, 7, and then plus like 3 blocks. He's the baddest man in the league. Those arguments that Kobe was the best player in the league for a stretch. Let's just say from 05 to 2010. I understand that Shaq was there and you could make that argument, and Shaq has given it up to him in 2001. He said, I think Kobe's the best player in the league. But let's just say, okay, Shaq leaves, Shaq goes away. So over a 5-year stretch, Kobe Bryant is looked at as the best player in the NBA, the baddest man on the planet. And then what are we defining as baddest man? Because to me, the baddest man on the planet right now is Anthony Edwards. And it's not because of what he's doing in the playoffs. The second baddest man to me plays with the New York Knicks and Jalen Brunson. Jokic, they feel, wins the MVP. I would love to look this up more, and maybe we talk about it at a later show. But give it to me. What do you think should be the criteria of winning the NBA's most valuable player? Because we don't have one. I don't even think the NBA has one. The media decides who's the MVP. And as an aside, before we go to break here, out of the remaining teams in the NBA, who do you think has the best shot of being next year's NBA MVP? You got Edwards there. You have Jokic still there. You have Jalen Brunson. Also have Jason Tatum. That's an interesting story on whether or not he'll ever win an MVP in his career. And Boston's the number 1 seed in the East. Far and away was the best team. Wasn't even considered. SGA, I feel he's going to be one of those guys that's going to be in the mix next year. Again, I think he wins an MVP before his career is said and done. If I had to bet on it, I don't know. Maybe Anthony Edwards. But they also have me bet on things like this.
This magic moment.
This magic moment is brought to you by MyBookie. Experience the Vegas thrill from the comfort of your phone anytime, anywhere, only with MyBookie.
To win the chip right now, they looked really, really good in their Game 3 matchup against Cleveland. Boston at minus 125 to win the NBA championship. And I still have OKC winning their series against Dallas. It's at plus 183 right now. Could be wrong, but they don't pay me to be right. Yet. Unfortunately, I thought I was going to be right last week. I think me and Casey both thought that. And unfortunately, the Orlando Magic were eliminated from the playoff picture last week, but I got to tell you, the future is looking bright for them. And we'll talk about it with Jake Chapman, the Orlando Magic radio play-by-play voice. And he joins us next on 1010XL and 92.5 FM.
Even more Jaguars. Listen to the Tommy Mac podcast with Tom McManus and Campo and Joe with Dave Campo and Joe C. Find these original podcasts at 1010XL.com or on Twitter at 1010XL.
Imagine waking up this time next week and being 100% debt-free from credit cards, car loans, and personal loans. Hey, Prosser here. Loan Pronto's Equity Express line of credit can make it happen. Homeowners are turning their home equity into cash almost instantly. With Loan Pronto's AI-based system, you can get approval in about 10 minutes with almost no documentation, no appraisal, and no hassle. You can get hundreds of thousands of dollars out of your home. Use that money to pay off all your other loans. The average homeowner saves over $850 a month doing this. Listen, your home value's way up. You can use that to wipe out all those credit cards. Get some money for a home improvement. Literally, hundreds of thousands are at your fingertips, and approval is just minutes away. So call now, 904-999-1508. 904-999-1508, or go to loanpronto.com. NMLS 1661781, subject to lender approval, equal housing lender.
Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for details and important safety information. Subscription required. Price varies based on product and subscription plan.
Hey guys, did you know there's a generic form of Viagra that works just the same, but is 95% cheaper? And you can get it online? Go to hims.com/joy. Through HIMS, you'll get a free medical consultation, discreet shipping if prescribed, and the process is 100% online. To start your free online visit, go to hims.com/joy. That's HIMS.com/JOY.
Have you tried golfing at the improved Cimarron Golf Club? If you haven't, tell you what, you're missing out on the best deal in Jacksonville. Now, many of you have received a postcard in the mail, and of course, if you bring that with you, $45 plus tax to play. That includes a cart, lunch, and a beer at the brand new Stone Barrel Tap House. Now, go to the website, that is CimarronGolfClub.com, and sign up for the Wild One Loyalty Program. That's the Wild One Loyalty Program, and get all of these specials emailed to you from Cimarron.
Hi, this is Dave Barker. Multi-unit hair grafting is now available at IHRS and can give you 3 times more hair in one procedure over a traditional hair transplant.
Multi-unit hair grafting gave me more hair in one procedure and within my budget.
You can grow your hair back with this exclusive new procedure. Call for a free evaluation. Call IHRS 904-777-IHRS 777-IHRS 777-4477.
It's one of golf's majors for a reason.
Come on! Drains it!
Hear updates and coverage of the PGA Championship, brought to you by Vaughn Motor Group.
Yes.
Follow the leaders on 1010XL.
Hon, why is our lawn so stinky and muddy over there?
Where the septic tank is?
Oh, no. Yuck.
Septic alert, septic alert. Time for a spring septic clean? Call Duck Duck Rooter before the deal ends. Just $5.25 to keep your septic alive. For $525, Duck Duck Rooter will pump out your septic tank, clean your outlet filter, plus send a plumber to provide drain cleaning to your main sewer line. Call now to book 904-862-6769. DuckDuckRooter.com. Proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Let's ring up another guest on the All-Pro Roofing phone line. Back to the action on Open Gym on 1010XL.
It didn't end the way we wanted it to, but the song is still going to continue to play on these airwaves because I believe we're in for a treat next season with the Orlando Magic. And for that, let's speak with Jake Chapman, the radio play-by-play voice of the Orlando Magic. Called Game 7 last Sunday in Cleveland with Jeff Turner, and he returns to the Open Gym. Jake, welcome back to the program, man. How are you?
What's up, RJ? I'm good. How are you?
Pretty good, man. Before we get to the series that happened last week, I got to ask you a fun question. Give me your favorite NBA playoff series of all time that you watched, or you could say you were a part of. Just give the listeners here your favorite playoff series of all time.
Playoff series. Oh, man, what a good one. Cavs Magic in see, gosh, I can't even do that because I wasn't working for the Magic at that point. Okay. I'm going to go the obvious answer and just go with this last one because for me, the experience, it's just, I grew up in Cleveland, man. And so being in that building and calling Game 7, even though it didn't go the way we wanted, having dinner with my parents the night before and just sort of thinking about the opportunity and how far I've come and we've come and growing up, being in my dad's car and listening to Joe Tate, who was the Cavs play-by-play guy. We talked about all that stuff. So it was a pretty special experience. So maybe a boring answer, but I'm going to go with this last one. I'm trying to think back because, I was a Cavs fan before I started working for the Magic. Right. Some of those first LeBron series as a fan, like that Pistons series and that Pistons game, that was some of the best stuff as far as being a fan goes. And then even I go back to Brad Doherty and Mark Price when I was a kid. Yes. And those Bulls series with Lenny Wilkins Cavaliers. So going back through the annals of time now and dating myself. But this last one was pretty awesome, even though it didn't end the way we wanted it to. And the atmosphere, RJ, at the Kia Center for those home games was absolutely electric. It was so cool to see the building back and the town back to where it should be, which is a Magic town.
Absolutely. And, here for us at the station here in Northeast Florida, it's been hard for us to look back at this series and, just the way in which that it ended. You're up 18. Cleveland goes on a run in that first half. Donovan Mitchell, and that's kind of the way that it ended there. And when you needed key baskets, unfortunately, there seemed to be a lid on the basket. I was listening to you and Jeff Turner during that Game 7. Break it down for us what you saw being in the building for the Magic Game 7 in Cleveland, Ohio against the Cavs.
Yeah, it just kind of felt like we ran out of gas. I think the Cavs defense, won the day. You came out and you scored 41 points in the second half of a very crucial game. Yeah, you had an 18-point lead in the second quarter of that game, but they got it down to 10 before half. Yeah. Karis LeVert played a really important role in that game, and in 2, I believe, of the home games, he was really clutch. I think he was pretty big in Game 5, if my memory serves. as well. And they always needed that extra punch. Like Mitchell was going to be Mitchell, and there were nights where he had 50, and there were nights where he had 25, but he was always there in the second half making key buckets, getting to the free throw line, doing Donovan Mitchell things, as we see him doing in the Celtics series. It's just probably not going to be enough. But we just, none of our guys made baskets in the second half of that game.
Right.
And even Paolo carries you with 38 points, keeps it close, but he was 15 of 18 at the free throw line, and he was 10 of 28 from the field and had 5 turnovers in that game. So it was pretty much across the board. You just didn't have enough offense, and that was sort of the case basically every time we were in that building.
Jake Chapman, our guest, he's the radio play-by-play voice of the Orlando Magic. Listen, I got to admit, not everyone has a great Game 7 when it's their first time. You look at guys like Paul George, in his first Game 7, only had 7 points. Hedo Turkoglu in his first Game 7, only 10 points. Dame, only 13. Scottie Pippen, a whopping 2 points in his first Game 7. Franz, I get it. He didn't have a great Game 7, Jake, and we would have loved it if he did, because I feel if he did, we'd be facing Boston right now. We'd be talking about what they need to do to, defeat Boston in the 7-game series. But looking at Orlando Magic Twitter, just some folks that were reacting to Franz not having a great Game 7, I just thought was a little bit unnecessary.
That's how I know I'm getting old, man, is I'm just too exhausted for so many of these Twitter conversations. And It's not just us. I'll say that too, RJ. It's because I'm still, I work in Cleveland.
Yeah.
So I still have Cleveland Cavs Twitter. I still have Pistons Twitter. I've been plugged into all those fan bases, and it's just everywhere. The Cavs want to fire the coach when they lose, and everything's fine when they win. It is that high and low this time of year, and I get it. It's kind of the fun of it all because it's the postseason. But smart organizations don't respond and react that way.
Right.
And fans have the right to say whatever they want. But if you follow the team as you and I do, then you know how important Franz is.
Yes.
And you also know that this year his offense was hit or miss. The jumper wasn't there all season long. We know he's a better three-point shooter than he was over the course of the year. He struggled, but that'll bounce back. But that guy does so many other things, and so I think he was terrible from the field. He shot the ball very poorly,
yes.
And that's gonna haunt the man for a long time. But he's such a dog, and he's such a competitor. If you want to, and I realize it's an excuse, but that guy has played a whole lot of basketball with the German national team, and he just plays every time he's available. I think if anybody needs a few weeks off to get his legs back under him, it's him. So we know he'll be back, and he'll be better, and he'll be motivated. And it wasn't just him; nobody made shots, like I said, from the field in that game. So it was a struggle for everybody.
Now, when you talk about Franz, you can't talk about Franz without talking about his running mate in Paolo Banchero, and Donovan Mitchell giving him high praise following that Game 7, thinking he's going to be a monster next season. Then I look at Orlando Magic Twitter again after all of the slander you're giving Franz. Wendell Carter Jr. saying that Paolo Banchero is going to be a Hall of Famer if he keeps up what he's been doing in terms of production. What should be the next step for Paolo in his development, in your opinion?
I think, there's some little things that you watch over the course of the season that you want him just to improve incrementally on, right? Free throws. If he shoots 80% at the free throw line, it's an extra couple points a night with the frequency that he gets. He gets there 7 times a game. That could be, you look at some of these other guys in the league who hunt them, and I don't think we want Paulo to turn into Embiid or Jimmy. But he could very easily, as his body, improves, and as he gets a little bit more durable and attacks more, shoot 9-10 free throws a night. If he shoots better than 71% at the free throw line, it's a couple points a night. The turnovers, obviously, I think, is something that he needs to clean up. But he was asked to do so much. There are a handful of guys who had a usage percentage like he did in the postseason. We're talking Shea and Mitchell and Luka and Jokic and the studs of the league, and none of these guys are that young and dealing with all this stuff for the first time. So I think just, what we saw was he adapts so quickly to whatever defenses are throwing at him. Early on in the Cavs series, it was like, okay, somebody's going to have to make shots from the perimeter. He did that, and he did it from 18 to 22 feet. So I think, those perimeter jumpers turning from long twos into threes, off the bounce, all of that stuff contested because he's so big and can shoot over so many guys. I think that's obviously a natural progression, but I want to see him, make sure he's so good in the mid-range. I want to see him make sure he's focusing on all three areas of the floor as well, and that includes attacking the bucket, getting to the free throw line, as I mentioned. So, but he just adapts so quickly. He's so good. I think it just surprised everybody. And then his playmaking, as teams started throwing doubles at him over the course of the season, his assist numbers went up. So, get the turnovers down a little bit and knock down a few more free throws tonight. I mean, we're talking about little things that'll get him to that next level, but he's already at a pretty damn impressive level for a kid in year two. He was just so good this year.
Final couple of moments with Jake Chapman, the Orlando Magic radio play-by-play voice. So we head into the offseason, and Orlando's going to have a bevy of options at their disposal with the money they have allocated to them. What moves would you be looking to make this offseason, whether it be targeting free agents, signing guys you already have to the team, to extensions? What would be your point of attack going to the offseason if you're the Orlando Magic?
Well, I think that, the beautiful thing is you've got all your options in front of you. You've got draft picks. You still have Denver's draft pick from next year. You've got all your own picks. You got the 18th pick. The lottery is actually today, which is very interesting. I don't think very many Magic fans are plugged into that for the first time in a long time, which is awesome. I think no matter what, you want to make sure you're a better perimeter shooting team, at least on paper, when the season starts next year. That can come from a lot of different places. You can count on internal development. Maybe Jett Howard gets more of an opportunity next year. But I think probably first and foremost is, regardless of how you do it, you want to upgrade as far as shooting the three ball goes.
Absolutely. And before we let you go here, I told Dante I was extremely jealous over the fact that he was able to interview Tracy McGrady a couple weeks before the regular season ended. I've been extremely jealous of you because you were able to do commentary with Terrence Ross on the radio side. How cool was that? Terrence is pretty good on the radio, Jake.
That was awesome. I appreciate it, and he appreciates it, I'm sure. It was cool. Terrence is he was still so close to the game, A year ago, he was in the postseason with Phoenix, so he had great insight, and he had great close to the game knowledge of guys' tendencies, especially the guys on our team. I mean, most of the guys on our team played with him. So it was a blast, and especially as the series went on and the home atmosphere, him being up there, I mean, he was still kind of playing the game in his mind. So it was pretty cool watching him experience that, and he was fantastic on the air. It was a blast.
Absolutely. Hope we can hear more of him as well as yourself doing a dynamic duo thing on the radio. And I know we're going to have a few of the games on next season as the Orlando Magic are going to give us a treat next year. I think things are only looking up. They're a year ahead of schedule. That is Jake Chapman, the radio play-by-play voice of the Orlando Magic, making his return to the open gym. Jake, thanks so much. Happy Mother's Day to you and yours, and hopefully we can do this again down the road.
You as well. Appreciate the time as always, and happy Mother's Day to all the moms out there.
There he goes, Jake Chapman of the Orlando Magic. Things looking up in Central Florida. When we return, we'll continue looking at teams from around the league that are in the playoffs. One playing a playoff game today in the New York Knicks. We speak to Mark Berman of the New York Post. He used to cover the Knicks for over 20-plus seasons. He'll give us the rundown of what the Knicks are looking to do to turn things around in Game 4 here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM.
Fish are good at hiding. Captain Kevin can help you find them.
Oh, yeah, that's a big one.
Find more fish on the Ring Power Fishing Forecast Show.
Thursday nights at 6.
Brought to you by Awaken 180 Weight Loss on 1010XL AM.
What's going on, everybody? It's RJ Saunders here, and the NBA playoffs are continuing to heat up, and it's the perfect time to elevate your game with MyBookie. With MyBookie, you can bet from anywhere, anytime, so you never miss a shot to cash in on a play. Give me the Wolves after what Anthony Edwards saying he's going to be ready today. I take the Timberwolves to bounce back in Minnesota. They come in as a 2.5-point favorite. And also give me the Knicks to bounce back in Indiana against the Pacers and take a 3-1 series lead. Although they are a 5.5-point underdog coming into today's game. With MyBookie, they have a lot to offer, including early cash out, daily odds boosts, quick bet settlements, and live betting and streaming, where you can watch and bet on live NBA action, all from one platform. Sign up today using promo code 1010XL for a limited time bonus with first deposit at MyBookie. Remember, you can bet anything from anytime, from anywhere with MyBookie, and don't forget that promo code 1010XL.
Hey, Glenn here with B&B Oil. Do you have equipment that needs fuel? We can service any size event, from a small wedding with a generator in a tight spot to large construction sites with multiple pieces of large equipment. We deliver all types of fuel and lubricants. We also have fuel tanks from 200 gallons to 2,000 gallons, and we can get larger if needed. So give us a call today or find us online at bb-oil.com. bb-oil.com.
Surf in the Summer Surf Camp is now registering for camps this summer. Get your kids out to the beach this summer. For registration and session dates, log on to surfinthesummer.com. Surf in the Summer, Jacksonville Beach's premier surf camp.
Hey sports fans, this is Hayes Carlyon for QC Kinetics. This is the absolute worst time of the year to be dealing with joint pain. You can't do all the outdoor stuff you love to do, hiking, jogging, biking, playing on the beach. Don't go through summer missing out on life. Call QC Kinetics now and find out how they can use biologics from your own body to give new life to your achy joints. You gotta call QC Kinetics now for a free consultation. 904-274-5522. Serving the Jacksonville area with locations in Mandarin and Ponte Vedra Beach. Again, this is the future of medicine. Tens of thousands of QC Kinetics patients around the country are living their best life this year because they made the call. Call QC Kinetics now for your free consultation. Revolutionary treatments for joint pain are here. Again, Mandarin and Ponte Vedra Beach. Call QC Kinetics now, 904-274-5522. That's QC Kinetics.
Believe in the unbelievable.
Unbelievable!
1010XL.
I can't believe it! I can't believe it!
We're hearing is believing.
Unbelievable!
Bueller Air and Plumbing presents Are You Cool?
Today's contestant, an avocado consultant from Jacksonville, Florida, meet Dave Ortega. Okay, Dave, here's your question. Your house is not bad in the morning, but by the afternoon, your AC can barely keep up, even with the curtains closed. What do you do?
Oh, can I buy a valve?
Not that kind of show, Dave.
Can I spin the wheel?
Yeah, we don't even have a wheel, Dave.
Can I phone a friend? Oh, can I call Bueller?
That's right, Dave. Call Bueller Air and Plumbing to assess your home's airflow and sunlight patterns, and let us optimize your air conditioning so that you are cool.
This is the happiest day of my life.
Well, you gotta get out more, Dave.
Stay cooler with Bueller.
Visit BuellerAir.com.
Test your aim to help local kids succeed. It's the 6th annual Mackenzie Noel Wilson Foundation Clay Shoot to support the Boys and Girls Clubs of Northeast Florida and Mackenzie's Camp Deep Pond, Thursday, May 30th at Jack's Clay Target Sports. Get your team and the Boys and Girls Club take care of the rest. Ammo, cart, clays, breakfast bites, lunch, and goodies. Proceeds benefit 56 area clubs serving over 5,200 area kids every day. Go to bgcnf.org/events.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Take your shot. It's Open Gym on 1010XL.
Back again on 1010XL and 92.5 FM, a little show we like to call The Open Gym. So glad you're here with us on a Mother's Day Sunday, and to everyone who is a mother or is becoming a mother, we send our love to you. What a wild finish on Friday night between the Knicks and the Pacers. Indiana taking Game 3 at home by a final of 111-106. However, the series is still in favor of New York as they lead 2-1 in this best-of-7 semifinal series. Game 4 is today at 3:30. Let's continue looking around the league with teams that are still in the playoff picture. Today we'll take a deep dive with the Knicks, and we're joined by Mark Berman. He's formerly of the New York Post, was a Knicks beat writer for over 20 seasons. Now he's doing some freelance work with the Palm Beach Post here in Florida, and every so often he dishes on New York Knicks news and notes when the Spirit moves them, and I'm so glad that the Spirit is moving him to be on with us. Mark, how are you?
Doing great. Getting a little hot here in South Florida, but nothing hotter than Pacers-Knicks game. What a finish! What a series!
Without question, it's been an exciting series so far, and I have to agree with your sentiments completely about it being hot. I know that you're down there in South Florida, but here in Northeast Florida, it has been burning up. And so wherever you guys are, whether you're in the Florida area or beyond, please stay cool on this Mother's Day. But, Mark, break down what you saw in Game 3. I mean, Indiana delivers the initial shot, but the Knicks were not only able to ride that wave, they created one of their own in that second half that was led by Dante DiVincenzo in that just scorching third quarter that he had until Nembhard in the fourth quarter hits that wild shot to put the Knicks away. But what did you see there in that Game 3 matchup between the Knicks and the Pacers?
Yeah, well, I mean, that was a big shot, but the Pacers won it down the stretch. They got a lot of calls. They didn't get any calls in the first two games. Carlisle went ballistic, and they handed the league, like several dozen calls that they thought went against them incredibly. But, yeah, they got some whistles. There was a goaltend on Josh Hart that was missed. Jalen Brunson, who he's been superhuman, but he didn't get as many calls as he usually does. And, he's on the ground all the time. So you just put a little pinky on him and he falls to the ground. And I think the referees may have been told that to watch the Jalen Brunson situation. And even Jalen was belly aching about not getting a call on that desperation three. But, the Pacers got some offensive rebounds in the final few minutes, and that's something the Knicks do fabulously. But not having OG Anunoby, was a killer, and they may not have him for a while. A hamstring strain is not something you could play through. A sprained ankle, yes. A bone bruise, yes. Jalen has a sore foot, and, he looked a little hobbled, a little not as quick as usual. So that's a factor. You say the Knicks still have the edge. Technically, a 2-1 they do, but it's still they're on serve. It's still home court. They have not lost at home yet. So with all the injuries piling up for the Knicks, the Pacers may have a shot at this. But again, the referees, there's so many close calls. I mean, this NBA is just, I almost feel the game is too fast for the refs at this point.
We'll touch on the injuries in a moment, Mark, because that's something I wanted to talk about. I mean, New York is dealing with a litany of injuries, and several key members of that group are going to be out for a significant amount of time. But before I get to that, I got to talk about the young dynamo and Jalen Brunson. I mean, my goodness, what a warrior this guy is. I mean, he's clearly dealing with an injury himself, and I believe at any other time, you probably would have sat this guy down, let it heal, let it rest. However, he understands the moment. It's the NBA postseason, so he's been powering through it. But when Jalen got to New York, Mark, there was a lot of intrigue to see what would become of all this. And not only is he the Knicks guard of the future, but he's the face of the franchise and one of the league's brightest stars, in my opinion. Did you, as a former writer for the Knicks, foresee this coming when Brunson became a member of this squad?
I was a big fan of Jalen Brunson, but even Thibodeau did not expect this, or Leon Rose. Obviously, Leon Rose was Jalen's agent across his career.
Right.
And listen, I did this story before I retired. In the initial meeting with scouts that Leon Rose had when he took over as president, the first name he mentioned as a wish list situation was Jalen Brunson. Wow. And some scouts who don't work there anymore rolled their eyes. They're like, really? That's the top of your wish list? I mean, they were kind of stunned. And, we're thinking, well, he is his agent. So, but it's amazing. He's such a warrior, as you said. The beauty of him, his father, who I covered with the Knicks, Rick, you know, he has done a great job with him on fundamentals, and he just has every little crafty move under the sun. But it's not just the moves. He's got beautiful touch. He could hit the shot from all angles, all spots on the court. He just kept getting better each year in the last 3 years. Second-round pick. It's really a marvelous story. I think he's still underrated. I mean, on television, they're still not giving him his due. I mean, this guy had 4 straight 40-point games. I was disappointed. I saw some Nick blogger was comparing his Jalen Brunson past Carmelo Anthony as a Knick. I was like, Carmelo as a Knick was not a clutch playoff performer. You know, they won one playoff series during his stand, and against the Pacers 10 years ago, he was the cause of their demise. His layup attempt against Hibbert getting famously blocked. So, listen, Jalen is just amazing. He's first-team All-NBA in everyone's eyes, I think, now. And it's just a great, great story. And he's not even he doesn't even have a max contract.
Mark Berman, our guest, he's formerly of the New York Post. He is now doing a bit of freelance work for the Palm Beach Post here in Florida, speaking with us about the New York Knicks news and notes as they currently lead their series 2-1 against the Indiana Pacers. You know, one of the things I was worried about when it comes to the New York Knicks and injuries is you have guys like Josh Hart playing 40-plus minutes a night. Jalen Brunson goes long, stretches himself without taking a rest. The same goes for Dante DiVincenzo. And I was wondering if the Knicks, by the time they got to the finish line of the regular season, were they going to break down? Were they going to be able to maintain this? And, I mean, they get through their first-round matchup against the Sixers, but now OG Anunoby's hurt in this series, and Mitchell Robinson's out, and you're going to lose him for a significant amount of time. There's no Julius Randle at your disposal. Are the Knicks, in your opinion, going to have enough in them not only to get past this series, but to play the next one?
I mean, you'd think they definitely do not. But it's just amazing the heart of Josh Hart, able to play those 48 minutes. I think he may have had a breather last night. But to get 18, 19 rebounds, Patrick Ewing territory, the guy's 6'4", just maybe has more stamina than anyone in the league. It's been phenomenal. I mean, when they entered the season, I was just concerned about their power forward situation after Julius. They had no backup. They gave up on Obi, and they're somehow surviving. I mean, Precious Achiuwa has done pretty decently, and he started last night and showing a lot of grit. They're just so gritty. They have a lot of chemistry. Obviously, the 3 Villanova guys know exactly where each other is on the court. And, you know, that Alec Burks, was a solid player throughout his career, comes off the bench, finally is dusted off in desperation and hits major shots in the first half, keeping them in it. So they have a lot of depth. Give Leon Rose, the president, a lot of credit for just filling this roster with incredible depth. We didn't mention Miles McBride, who has improved his three-point shot, gritty defender. They were all the same makeup. They're Thibodeau players. Rose knows what he's doing. He made that big mistake with Cam Reddish a couple of years ago. He got a player that Thibodeau didn't want that trade. And he learned his mistake, and basically Thibodeau only played Cam when he had to. So Cam's not much of a gritty, tough defender type. But he's got now all type of Thibodeau-type players, including Hardenstein. It just goes on with this grit. And you say, can they withstand all these injuries? With all this grit and a pretty good three-point shooters who are still healthy, I mean, they have a chance.
As I've done with every other guest that have talked about their respective teams, I'll do the same. If you want to catch the rest of that interview, it was great with Mark Berman of the New York Post, covered the New York Knicks for over 20-plus seasons. Great conversation. I'll put the full interview up on SoundCloud at the end of this show. He got into a lot. Patrick Ewing, the 99 Knicks. That's the last time they went to the NBA Finals. Absolutely a wonderful interview that I had with Mark Berman. Also, thank you to Jake Chapman for joining us to give us the year in review when it comes to the Orlando Magic. And that's going to do it for us here on a Mother's Day edition of Open Gym. Thank you again for being on with us. Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers that are out there. And we will talk to you next week here on 1010XL in 92.5 FM. Following this show, Gator Baseball. Jack Caglione has been an absolute terror when it comes to things going on with Gator Baseball. This may be one of the last times that we see him in a Gator uniform. That'll come up in about 5 minutes here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM. I'm interested to see what Anthony Edwards is going to do tonight. Said he's going to be ready for tonight. Apologize to the fans, apologize to those watching, and said, I'm going to be ready tonight. 3:30, we'll have the Knicks and the Pacers. Do the Knicks turn it around? I believe that they do. We'll find out here in a couple hours. So, for Casey Dobson, I'm RJ Saunders. John O'Leary, thanks again for being in the studio with us. My name is RJ Saunders. This has been Open Gym. Happy Mother's Day, and we'll talk to you next week.
Any action? Find more fish on the Ring Power Fishing Forecast Show.
That's a big redfish, guys.
With Captain Kevin Faber.
Oh, my gosh.
Brought to you by Awaken 180 Weight Loss.
Thursday nights at 6.
On 1010XL AM.
Mia here. The NBA playoffs are heating up, and it's the perfect time to elevate your game with MyBookie. With MyBookie, you can bet from anywhere, anytime, so you never miss a shot to cash in on a play. You can even live stream and bet on the game